we are going to take some time to continue working with how the Cold War saved Marvel. And today we're going to be specifically looking at how the author developed the central idea of the text. So we're going to determine how each section of this text contributes to the overall central idea. So just to get started as a warm-up, I want you to take some time to consider what you think the central idea was. Keep in mind that a central idea is the topic and what you learned about the topic. Pause me while you come up with the central idea and press play when you're ready to continue. All right, so the topic of this text is Marvel and kind of the Cold War. So I'm just going to make sure I include the Cold War and the rest of it. So what did I learn about Marvel through this text? Marvel used the Cold War to develop new, more relatable superheroes, which helped the company become more popular. So keep in mind that if you're struggling to come up with the central idea, look at the title, subtitles, things like that. So what we're going to do is we're just going to look at each section and we're going to think, how do these sections contribute to the overall central idea? So what does it have to do with how Marvel used the Cold War to develop new, more relatable superheroes and how that helps the company become more popular? So if I look back at the intro, it is really giving examples of the political side of the superheroes. So it doesn't specifically talk about the Cold War, but it talks about politics and world events in general. So I'm gonna make my font a little smaller. So the introduction focuses on how comic book superheroes have also related to political events in their time period. While it only mentions the Cold War a little bit, the intro gives kind of context for why and how the Cold War was used by Marvel to become more popular, right? So it just gives you kind of the background info, which is pretty typical for an introduction, to give you that background and that context. If we look at the part about unless we want the commies to beat us, it kind of talks about why Marvel needed a reboot, right? It gives the kind of the bankruptcy information, and then how they created these new superheroes, right? So it talks about the argumentative, self-pitying, and occasionally mean superheroes, and how they really just made their characters particularly relatable by making them experience the Cold War. So this section gives background into how the company lost popularity, as well as how the superheroes they created during the Cold War used the country's fear to become more relatable, right? So they played on what people were really interested in. Something you might not have realized we were going to do is we're going to look at the comic. So if you see, this is where they got that, unless we want the commies to beat us. It's right in here. So this is clearly an example of one of these comic books. So the, absolutely not. The image is an example of a comic book that included the emphasis on the fear of communism, right? So it's just an example so you can see what it looked like. All right, I want you guys to take the time to do the next two sections. So that's the most feared man in all of Asia, and that's not how any of this works. Pause me while you do that work and press play when you're ready to continue. All right, so the most feared man in all of Asia really kind of just gives more examples other than the Fantastic Four about other superheroes that became really popular but were originally based on the Cold War and were created during that time. That's not how any of this works. Really focuses on just Iron Man. Obviously, Iron Man is one of the most popular superheroes, and he really capitalized on the Cold War through several different avenues, eventually becoming one of Marvel's most popular characters. So at this point, we've gotten the Fantastic Four, Hulk, Spider-Man, and Iron Man. I think that's it, which is pretty interesting. All right, so it's important to remember that as a good reader, you really do need to consider how each individual section of a text contributes to the overall central idea. So what I want you to do to show me that you understand this is to just go ahead and finish the chart, right? Do the superheroes who were left, who came in from the cold, and Iron Man faces the end of an era in 1992. Consider how those contribute to the overall central idea. Once you're done with that, you're good to go.